All right, welcome everybody back to the European LCS, where Fnatic are just one win away from taking down Vitality, coming back strong after disappointing performance at Rift Rivals.
Yes, Fnatic looking very, very good, very, very clean. I'm excited to see what else they have left in the draft and how Vitality will look to try and change things up. We had on the analyst desk that if they wanted to invest so much in the early game around the middle, in the mid, then they should have gone for a different jungler. They should have gone for something that was better equipped to get that kind of a snowball. So perhaps they'll move away from the Sejuani, or perhaps they'll go for something a little bit safer in the middle lane. Yeah,
I'm curious to see what they bring out, because remember, Fnatic banned the Olaf last time. One of the few teams that starts respecting what Djoko can get done on that champion. So we'll see if they do it again. We'll see if things change.
Yeah, I also love talking to my stats team too, because whenever they explain something to me, they're like, oh, we've got this really cool stat. I'm like, oh, great, can you explain it to me? And then they explain it to me in stats terms, which doesn't help me because I'm just a caster,
you don't speak stats,
exactly.
Betty, I think they're telling you that you need to learn a second language, man.
It seems like that.
Certainly not. You're not making any progress in German, are you?
No, I am not.
All right, well, I won't be mean to you any further, because we're in Picks and Bans Part 2, and Fnatic, they moved the Olaf all the way up to the top of the ban table.
So it looks like that the focus will still be on making sure Djoko does not get a comfort pick. Looks like very standard stuff coming out from a red side. Gonna predict an elite span. No shock there. And Fnatic, they could very well go for a priority on the Gragas once more. Get themselves that strong, flexible champion that can go between Soaz or Broxah, depending on the composition.
All right, well, Fnatic have actually decided to ban out the LeBlanc. And, well, that's a champion that we've seen some pretty explosive damage on. Nukeduck is a pretty explosive mid laner, so I think 2 and 2 together makes a lot of sense, and there is your predicted elite span. So we'll see what Broxah ends up picking here.
Ooh, so an early focus on the Braum rather than the Gragas. I feel like Vitality will use this as an opportunity to get themselves the big fat man. And again, because of how great he is at being flexed between both jungle and top, because of just how safe of a pick he is, he's just a very easy thing to first pick. But Fnatic are saying, we really valued having this strong spawn in the bottom lane. I expect them to go for something like the Sivir once again. Whereas Vitality, they may look to even steal the Sivir away. I remember back last year, Steelback, he made a bit of a name for himself on that Sivir champion.
Yeah, absolutely. He certainly wasn't the only one, but that was definitely when he was putting up some big numbers. But instead, they will lock in the Tahm Kench, so Piratechnics to start things off for Vitality.
Very similar draft to what we saw before. Wouldn't be surprised for Fnatic if they go for a Lee Sin right now for Broxah. He has had a lot of success with it in the past when his debut performance was on that champion. And he can have a lot of early game impact and look to pressure the Gragas.
Yeah, was most played champion in summer, but he goes for one a little bit less, not too much though. It is the Kha'zix locked in. And will they end up picking the Braum right now? No, flashing through their AD carries, as it were.
So Hover, of all the AD carries, I would be surprised if they locked that in. Would be a bit ambitious. But they want to demonstrate that their Fnatic style works.
Oh, all right.
Wow.
Moving it up to 7.14.
Oh, shocker. He actually locked in a meta AD carry, unless it's mid lane.
That would be the ultimate troll, wouldn't it?
It would be.
I mean, we have seen Varus mid, but it's been a while.
Yeah, I'd be very surprised if it did go into the middle lane. That's very likely going to be the bottom lane secured for Fnatic. Will be very powerful. Exciting to see how Rekkles will do. Meanwhile, Nukeduck has gone for something a little bit safer in the form of Corki. So now we're looking at things to pinch away Fnatic. They should look to pinch away these AD carries, or they can focus their attention still onto Djoko. Bear in mind, he's already lost the Olaf and he's lost the Kha'zix. So all the comfort picks have been taken away from Vitality. Meanwhile, Vitality, they want to start pinching away these mid laners. Things like the Syndra, the Orianna, some safe picks the Caps can have a lot of success with, they want to deny.
Yeah, that's why I'm kind of confused they go for the Shen ban again. Remember, Soaz was incredibly outspoken about how frustrated he was at Rift Rivals, unable to really have an impact on that champion, but clearly Vitality still thinking there's a lot of bite to it, but they also do ban away the Cassiopeia.
So Fnatic's focus is actually in the top side of the map with the Fiora banned. They could be edging towards the Gnar. Remember that it was banned away in game 1 with the Renekton gone as well. I mean, usually Gnar does fairly well into that matchup. I wonder if Vitality are looking to take the Gnar away themselves, or if they're still considering putting that Gragas in the jungle, which you still have the ability to do.
Yeah, well, Rumble is up, and that was by far and away Cabochard's most played champion. It's clearly a comfortable choice for him, but they won't take it just yet. Instead, they lock in the Ashe, give themselves a little extra global.
So we have a very meta bottom lane for both sides. Tahm and Ashe can be pretty effective, definitely safe during the laning phase, but if that Varus can get a lead, very effective at pushing it. Now Fnatic, They need that kind of frontline engage. What better way to do it than to grab themselves a Jarvan? Very likely to be followed up by the Syndra once more, or they could go for something a little bit more team-fighted with the Orianna.
Oh yeah, they've got so much lockdown right now. When you talk about it, the Cataclysm, the Glacial Fissure, everything. Varus can bring it out as well with those chains. I mean, this is going to be a whole lot of lockdown on the Fnatic side, and they are going to be throwing rocks this game as Caps gets Taliyah.
This does absolutely fine into the Corki, and the great thing about Taliyah is the ability to roam between side lanes. This is something that Caps did a lot of early on during the season, and he made a bit of a name for himself on things like the Aurelion Sol, where you can just roam around the map, just help impact these side lanes, and really start that snowball going.
Oh, Cabochard does it! He's on the Jax right now. Okay, I want to see how this ends up doing up against the J4, because Jax will love to tangle, even at level 6 in the Cataclysm.
We saw this come out from Wonder as an answer to Expect's Jarvan earlier on in the week. It's usually a favorable matchup for the Jax, something that is very commonly picked over in the LCK as well. It was in fact even picked earlier on today by SKT. And we can talk more about the matchup when we get into game, but it becomes one of the big win conditions for Vitality. Looking at this Jax, this massive side lane split pushing threat. If you can get him ahead in the early game, he becomes this unstoppable force that Fnatic have no answer for. So in the early game, Fnatic's early focus should be on shutting down Jax, stopping him from becoming this split push terror.
Well, that is always the timer you have to work with. Now the coaches will shake hands, walk off stage. Fnatic are very mobile. They have a lot of CC on their comp. We'll see how they end up using it if they do go ahead and start to shut down Cabochard. And let's see if Vitality can answer right on back. It was a fast game, a fast end, and very decisive in favor of Fnatic last time around. Can they do it again? Will Vitality come up with a victory to even things out and keep week 6 going just a little bit longer? We're about to find out.
You guys know all the hashtags, all the votes.
Very enthusiastic.
Very heavily favored right now.
Oh yeah.
No real surprise. Seems that way towards the crowd too.
That's a lot of Fnatic jerseys, that's for sure. Crowd's definitely getting excited. Always are when Fnatic take the stage. Looking to close this week out on a massive high after disappointing Rift Rivals, but Vitality, they have momentum. Can they keep it going? Can they ride that Jax to victory? Let's find out as we hit Summoner's Rift.
And that is a deer.
Yes. You believe those are real, right?
I do, in fact, believe that deers are real. So,
giving you a second look.
Crowd is very enthusiastic, especially after the dominating win that Fnatic demonstrated in their game 1 of the series. They have a very similar composition. But let's talk about the differences now. So, the pick potential is still decent from the side of Fnatic, but nowhere quite as strong as it was before. Still very much around team fighting. You have the Varus, Taliyah, really good in these closed spaces, which, funnily enough, Soaz is really good at making with the Jarvan. Broxah on this Kha'zix focuses a little bit more on getting that level 6 mark before trying to be active. That doesn't mean that he can't be a little bit more gank focused in the early game if he so chooses to. He just needs to be careful because your first early clear, you can take a lot of damage, you can spend a lot of mana. And so it's just something that you have to be mindful of. So I expect him to be a little bit more ready to try and make plays once he and the rest of the team get a few more levels under their belt.
Absolutely. Now, on the other side, I want to call attention to Nukeduck, though, because this is the champion that he's been making his name on lately. The Lucian, not as much in terms of the damage, but Nukeduck on Corki has been a terror for opposing teams. And this is where they're pulling out all the stops, saying we have got to be able to take it to these guys. So I feel like the fights from Vitality are also going to definitely be coming. Not just picks, not just side lane.
Yep. Completely agree with you. Looking forward to seeing how Vitality can answer. They do have the Ashe down the bottom lane. They've already gone that early. Well, no, they've actually done the opposite. They haven't gone for an early push. They actually set up the wave, so they started pushing against them. So they denied a tiny bit of farm away from Fnatic's bottom lane, which means that Vitality should get a much earlier level 2 compared to what Jesiz and Rekkles can get.
Now, sometimes you stay a little longer in the jungle to try and help your jungler out, and you might lose out on that XP yourself. Up in the top, though, you take a look at that level difference as Cabochard's already on 2. Soaz pushed back under tower himself.
And I want to take this opportunity to talk a little bit about this matchup. The thing about Jax is he actually has to do nothing. He can look to jump in and trade aggressively, but the reality is Jarvan can never go all in onto the Jax. The reason is every time he jumps in, you give a free stun over to Cabochard, and as you try to walk away, Cabo can then leap onto you as you're retreating. So he's always going to come out ahead on that matchup. The only time that Jarvan can look to trade is if Cabo uses his stun too early on and tries to jump on top of his face. Now he's just used the counter-strike that is a very long cooldown early, but he feels a gank coming.
Game sense as well. He certainly had a lot of attention last time around, but he's not fully retreating just yet. Wants to see if he can pick up a little bit of farm, but Soaz keen to deny him here. As we see Broxah moving on into the Vitality jungle, taking a few Krugs as he goes, but he could be back for the top lane very quickly.
Just going to steal away those Krugs for the time being. And this is an absolute fine lane. So remember, win conditions for Vitality. Getting this Jax ahead. They still have really good scaling with the rest of their team, but the primary goal will be to use the Ashe to find picks and the wave clear that both Corki, Ashe, and Gragas can provide to deny Fnatic as this five-man unit rather, from just running down mid and trying to force a fight.
All right, Broxah spent a lot of time up in that top, but he didn't find an opening to really go in as Soaz started pushing away. Did steal away some of those camps, and of course, Djoko having backed away, he's going to find out that he doesn't have a whole lot left to go back to for the time being, but Cabochard still hanging out just fine in this lane. They just want to keep that clock rolling, and meanwhile down bottom, Steelback and Vander are giving Jesiz and Rekkles a hard time off of that start.
Yep. So Fnatic, they have the early push up top sides. Mid is fairly even, whereas bottom lane is struggling after the super leash that they gave early, but also the constant harass that you get from an Ashe from the very low mana cost that she has on her W. So you're constantly being forced back, always under pressure as Caps took for a bit of a roam.
Yeah, that's what you're talking about. Taliyah is capable of doing and doesn't step into the vision of the Scuttle Crab for the time being, but will step into the brush. And of course, Nukeduck, not seeing that one in the lane, definitely informing the teammates that, hey, Caps might be going around places. Now Djoko is coming up to the top. See if Soaz ends up checking a little too far forward. No wards in this brush. All right, counter-strike. Oh, flash followed through. Djoko incoming a little slow, gets the belly bop, and he throws down the barrel, and it's going to be first blood over to Cabochard.
Clean kill on to Soaz. He does have his TP, so he can very quickly rejoin the lane, but it doesn't matter because the snowball has begun. Early gank, first blood, going on to the Jax. He's going to get a nice influx of gold, and he's setting himself up to be that big hyper carry threat later on into the game.
Yep. Well, don't have to be a prophet to see what happens when a Jax starts getting forward, but if that's the case all game, it's going to be very, very grim for this Fnatic team, even though they're up 1-0. Trying to hang out in this lane. Now, Jesiz and Rekkles are going to be able to push Vander Steelback back for just a moment, but if they go a little too far forward, Djoko's still here. He's making his way down very slowly. He's already got one successful gank in his pocket. He's just going to go back to the jungle for now. Of course, Cabochard with the gold influx he got was able to pick up an early Tiamat here. He's going to be punishing Soaz just a little bit. Very even on the farm, though, at the very least.
And it's really important to get this early Tiamat. Something that we're seeing a lot from Jax is rather than rush the Trinity Force, they instead choose to just go for the early wave clear. It gives you so much more pushing pressure. It means that you have much more of an advantage in the lane because of all the additional wave clear that you have. That means that every time you want to try and jump in, it actually becomes harder for the Jarvan to then go for the turnaround fight because he's then going to be fighting into a minion wave. Now, Broxah, he's moved up to the top side of the map. He's recognized that this Cabo has gotten an early lead, so he wants to try and shut that down as fast as he can.
But I like this from Cabo. He's just sitting under tower. However, Caps, he's going to be building himself a wall, surfing right on over, and now without any summoners, even with the counter-strike, he gets bopped onto the threaded volley. Caps trying to finish the job, but he hops over it, and it looks like Nukeduck coming in for revenge, but not in time. Djoko here as well. Vitality trying to counterattack, but it's just not fast enough.
And a fantastic roam from Caps. The moment he hits level 6, he moves up to the top side. Soaz, he had his ultimate. He didn't even need it because the damage from Broxah was more than enough for them to get the kill. Fnatic recognizing that that Jax is the core that needs to be shut down. They utilize the level spikes that they reach, and they take advantage of it. And you can just see in the... on the bottom half of your screen, there was just not enough vision from the side of Vitality. The push in mid had allowed Caps to get to a position to roam up to the top side before Nukeduck could answer. And that means that they get the kill down onto the Jax. He didn't have his flash from earlier on getting that kill onto Soaz. And now he's a little bit more back into the laning phase.
Yep. It's all about that top lane. Fnatic, Vitality, both recognizing what they need to do in this game. Of course, There's also a lot of vision invested by Vitality around this bottom side. Remember, last game they couldn't get themselves any dragons, but even though they want to play around the top, there's a pretty critical dragon there too, the Infernal.
A really important Drake that Vitality have already set up vision around. Jesiz, though, he's feeling confident. He knows that his jungler is around now, hit level 6. Things going to slow down just a little bit. What I want to see from Vitality, the use of this Ashe ult. Double lift was fantastic at landing those shots into the middle lane and punishing Cap super heavily. You can see he's learned from his mistakes now that he's ran the cleanse in the middle lane. So perhaps we're not going to see these blind arrows that we did see from Rift Rivals, but just having that ability to find engages, find picks is extremely valuable for Vitality. And I just want to see them pulling the trigger, trying to catch Fnatic off guard and getting themselves a couple of extra kills on the board.
Oh, absolutely. And if they can get him on Cabochard, all the better right now. Let's see, Jez is taking the Blast Cone Express as he went through the jungle. Vander waiting and just hoping that somebody wanders into him so he can get a little bit more harassment down. But it is going to slow down, as you said. And while that's all happening, you talked about the Ashe arrows, but I really want to keep an eye on what Nukeduck's able to get done on this Corki. Of course, he's only sitting on one part of the Trinity Force, just the Sheen. Caps is going to be kind of hard to trade up against, but there's a reason that this guy has been popping off lately. It's not just the Corki. Overall, it's his performance, but it's enabled him to do it.
Now Djoko moving towards the Infernal Drake. He recognizes that Caps has gone back to base. Vander and Steelback is zoning the enemy bottom lane away from the objective, but Broxah, he smells something fishy and he's already on his way.
All right, can he come in time to steal it away? There is smite on both junglers here, and he gets knocked away by the barrel, but it's not far enough, and he's going to get the smite down. Thank you very much. I'll take an exhaust too, and I'm going to get out scot-free.
Easy steal for Broxah. You can see the smug look on his face. Even through the exhaust, he gets the smite, the Q, the damage, everything. Easiest steal of his life.
Yeah, and you could see on the other side, Djoko was just like, looked like a kid on Christmas.
That was a coma face palm right there.
Yeah, so Vitality, give you points for setting up, but you need to work on that execution. It's like we saw last game. They've just got to be a little cleaner. Now we're at the 10-minute mark.
There was just no risk, right? There was nothing that Broxah had to be afraid of. There was a Gragas there, and there was a Tahm Kench there. Aside from that, there was no kill threat. He knew that the Ashe was in lane. He knew that Nukeduck was just clearing out mids. There was just nothing he had to be afraid of. So he walked up, he hit it, and then he left.
Yeah.
And it was very, very clean from Broxah.
I mean, that would have worked great for Vitality if Fnatic didn't know it was there, but they had all the vision they needed.
Yep.
Broxah was in the right place at the right time.
Exactly that. So Fnatic, they get themselves another advantage. Currently sit at slightly ahead in terms of the gold. But that doesn't mean that the game is even remotely over yet. There's still a lot left to play. The bottom lane is even, the middle lane is even, and Jarvan has now been able to get a bit more of a CS advantage in the top half.
Broxah waiting. Give this blue buff over to Caps. What a good guy, letting the blue buff wail on him for his mid laner. That is dedication right there.
See, now as a mid laner, I would actually say you started it too early. I had not finished my mid lane wave clear. Should have done Gromp first, and then I'll come get the blue. So it's Broxah's fault.
Oh, I see how it is. Blame the jungler.
Yeah, you got it, man.
Every game. All right. Cabochard, Soaz dueling it out. Of course, they both have their Tiamats now, but still looking to see if Broxah makes another return trip up towards the top side. Maybe not right about now, as Nukeduck looking forward. Threaded volley, burnt out of Caps, but Djoko showing face in the mid as well. And of course, with that package, Caps does not want to tangle with the Corki.
Let's talk a little bit about what we've seen from a lot of these players. Not only at Rift Rivals, but over the last few weeks, because as we mentioned last game, Nukeduck rising star for Fnatic. A lot of teams have praised his efforts, as we don't have time for that because they're going all in.
Yeah, looking for Steelback right now, but Vander's going to swallow him up. This is the death denial. Makes it so rough to really deal with the Tahm Kench when you want to pick off a squishy. Nukeduck was looking to come in to try and return back, but Rekkles and Jesiz had decided they'd had enough already. Djoko's still hanging mid here. But you're right, Nukeduck has been a massive X factor for this Vitality team when they've been able to find success. More often than not, it's been on the back of him.
Yeah, I've been really impressed with the development of Nukeduck and how he, as an individual, has been growing. But like, I haven't seen him make these massive game-changing plays. He's just been that consistent mid lane player that you can often rely on. And now that we've seen a bit more of an assistance, now that Djoko's hit level 7, looking to try and make some plays onto Caps, the flash is gone, maybe he can start to put more pressure down and be that big carry for Vitality.
Yeah, and when you talk about these mid laners by comparison, you have to realize the huge difference in experience that they both have. Nukeduck's a guy that goes back to Season 3, went to Worlds with Lemon Dogs. He's not always had the most consistent career, but the guy's been around for a long time. He's experienced a lot, and the fact that he's having a resurgence at this point is very impressive.
Yeah, it certainly is. While Caps, he's still new kid on the block, didn't have the funnest time at international events, but it was a valuable learning experience that he can take moving forward.
Yeah. Well, he had his taste on the big stage as well. Remember, before joining Fnatic, he was a part of Dark Passage team on Turkish Champions League that actually got them to the IWCQ. And even if they didn't use him for that event, he definitely has been on big stages before.
Yeah, so I feel like the Cap certainly has grown a lot as a player throughout the European LCS, and it'll be exciting to see how he continues to grow. Meanwhile, as we return to the game, Fnatic have extended their gold lead ever so slightly, and you can see how Caps is playing much further back now. This is going to be a big deal for Nukeduck. He doesn't have the package available to him, but when he does, the fact that he has this additional pressure means that he can look for more roams. Ooh, and now Broxah was close. He's going for a gank anyway.
Isolation and instantly exhausted down, but Djoko's looking to come in for a turn. Broxah follows through, and he wishes he didn't. Right inside of Vander, the Ashe arrow just whizzes right by, and Nukeduck picks up a kill.
Fantastic flash from Nukeduck, realizing the goal of Broxah was to come out of stealth and instantly go for the Q pop to try and get that kill. So he flashes preemptively. That puts Broxah in a bad spot, and now 4 members of Vitality are grouping up mid lane.
All right, looking for the tower here as Cabochard waits in the wings. Jesiz is trying to push them back, but there are no minions here to defend, and Caps coming through. Throws down the Q, Unbreakable to try and block some of that damage, so they will save the tower. But Vitality can make a nice move in the mid lane.
But the fact that Cabochard roamed down to see if he could get anything additional means that Soaz continued to wail on that tower. And sure, kills are great if you're Vitality. The red buff is fantastic to have on a Corki, but the pressure is still going in favor of Fnatic. Rekkles still even in the bottom lane. A lot of tower damage going in favor of Soaz. And this will make things harder for this Jack's win condition to really turn into something massive. So you can see here, no vision of Broxah. Immediate exhaust coming out from Nukeduck, and just watch his preemptive flash. There it is, recognizing what Broxah's trying to do. Jungler from Vitality lying in wait because of the control ward. Broxah cannot see it. He doesn't have enough time to turn around, so he ends up losing his life and giving the red buff over to Nukeduck.
Absolutely, and Nukeduck, of course, is going to help him quite a lot working towards his Trinity Force. He did pick up the Sjokz shoes early, so that'll be a little bit more delayed. And he's dealing with what Caps has gotten in Morellonomicon. That one always trips me up.
Yeah, man.
But we're 15 minutes into this game, and we're starting to see the item spikes hit. Rekkles has his Blade of the Ruin King. We'll see if Fnatic can start shutting down that Jack's win condition soon.
Well, things certainly looking good for Fnatic. 15 minutes into the game. Slightly harder for them to be as proactive as they were before, but they still have a great means of forcing fights. Arrow coming out.
Oh, Broxah within inches as he looked to try and steal away a blue buff, and Caps is coming in for some help. But he steps right on top of the barrel. Now the Ocean Drake is here. Broxah should be able to take this one away, but Vitality are in the area if they want to respond.
But take note, Djoko, look at all the vision coming out from Fnatic. They had a pushed up wave mid, they had the pushed up wave bot. Look at all the threat that exists for Fnatic. This is how you properly set up for a dragon, because Vitality do not feel comfortable face checking, and there's always the risk of them getting collapsed upon.
So Fnatic will have a little bit extra sustain outside of those team fights to work with thanks to the Ocean Drake. There'll be another Infernal spawning when it comes up next again, but Fnatic cleanly taking objectives away. Vitality still trying to get themselves some time. The gold lead only 500, but Fnatic are happy with it for the time being.
Oh, they certainly are, Pirate. Fnatic looking very good in their game one, continuing to do so, but at least Vitality feeling a little bit more confident, not falling under quite the same early deficit. And they're just being patient. They know they scale extremely well. Corki, massive late game damage threat. Same for Ashe. This Jack side lane can be extremely difficult to deal with. So they're fine just buying time, playing the waiting game. If they get a pick here and there, that's even better for them. But they don't have to force anything. It's when they get to the 2 items that they really need to try and utilize this 1-4 or 1-3-1 that they built for themselves.
Yep, they could certainly rely on Nukeduck for damage output for the time being. The rockets are flying. With his Trinity Force, it's going to be difficult for Fnatic to really break this line, short of killing Nukeduck. But there's been a lot of jungle attention in the mid lane, just like last game, from both sides. Djoko's been there when he's needed to, and this is nice to see from him. It's a reason they picked this Gragas up, because he's able to be so mobile.
Yeah, completely agree with you. I feel like Djoko's had a much better early game compared to game one, and he still has that scaling value that Sejuani is very similar for. First turret of the game will go in favor of Fnatic, so they get that bonus gold. Currently sitting in a slight gold advantage. So things moving slowly, Pyra. The Fnatic squad feeling pretty good.
Slow but steady. And speaking of slow but steady, Nukeduck on the package here. Not going to be able to find anyone to deliver it to for the time being. Much like the Deutsche Post.
much like the Deutsche Post. Had a good, bad experiences with the Deutsche Post?
Yeah. Sometimes I just don't get packages.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So clearly they need to hire Corki.
Good one.
Thank you for that.
So Baron going to be spawning in about 2 minutes' time. Likely not going to be a massive point in contention for the time being, but you will see teams start to invest a bit of vision as they move the bottom lane of Fnatic now to the top side of the map because... Ooh, good flash from Caps.
Yeah, he's really been quick on the trigger right now. He comes, but ooh, the package valve back away the other direction.
I don't know.
He doesn't want it.
I want to say that was intentional from Nukeduck. He didn't want to commit too hard. Now they've baited Fnatic in. Here comes Cabo.
Oh, Cabo hopping on, but he gets knocked back. An insta-cleanse from Caps once again, but he's got no more summoners. Tries to ride the wall, but he knocks them all back, and it looks like Nukeduck's going to be able to finish him at the end of the day. And Broxah getting caught up for just a second. Soaz pops them both in the pit. And Nukeduck with a blast cone going the wrong way. As in comes Rekkles, forces him to flash back. And he's got the chains on. Finally, it's going to end.
But the fight carries on.
All right, Cabochard hopping away with the counter-strike, and the tower won't fall. But while it's all happening, Steelback keeping his head cool to look to take down that tower in the bottom. But Fnatic making the action happen.
Oh, Nukeduck, that was so close. You played that beautifully, good sir.
I want to see how many flashes were burned off.
Yeah, a lot of them. But now Fnatic, they're a 3-man unit onto this tower.
Okay, Vander's a little low. No gray health available to him right now. Rekkles looking to go under tower for Cabochard. And Steelback getting chased out by Soaz right now. This is a little unfortunate for the AD carry. The heal comes out. The arrows are being fired, but it's a one-on-one. Or is it? Because Vander is incoming. Turning the tides onto Soaz. And in comes Cabochard. Soaz trying to stay alive, but Steelback is going to knock him down.
Damn, these individual outplays coming out from Vitality are spectacular. Soaz didn't have the ultimate. Steelback knew he could just buy time and wait for the support to arrive, and it does in the form of Vander and Cabo. That's a lot of solo gold now going in their favor. They extend the kill lead, and this was just a play that happened earlier. Really good knockback from Caps, and I am amazed he managed to get this ultimate off because it keeps Cabo away from him, but it does not keep Nukeduck off of him. So now Nukeduck just doing his best to get away. He uses the blast cone to not only separate him from Broxah, but also away from Soaz. Then he realizes, oh no, Rekkles is here, but he also gets to flash out from Rekkles too, which is an added advantage considering he really should have died there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So back to live. We're at 20 minutes into this game, and Nukeduck on his second kill now has to be pretty happy himself, but a lot of flashy plays across the board. Steelback has taken his post up towards the top side. Remember, Fnatic were able to pick up the Rift Herald off the back of all that craziness, and Broxah is the one holding it. So we'll see where they end up spending it later on. Nukeduck and Vander holding the line in the mid, but of course, no tower there anymore. Vitality are still looking to get one of their own. Nearly got the bottom, of course, but then Soaz showed up and kind of ruined everything for Steelback.
Yes. Yes, he did. A lot of that gold lead right now is coming from the tower advantage that Fnatic have over Vitality, but things still looking good for Vitality. We always refresh, we always talk about it, and we have to catch up now. Trinity Force done for Cabochard. He's looking poised and ready to be that split push threat. I feel like he can just stay in the side lane now, and Vitality just need to group up as a 4-man unit and start pressuring. They're going to get this mid tower down. That's going to help them a lot. And they just need to have a little bit more control over their sideways. They need to always have them pushing in favor of Vitality. So I want to see them now move Steelback and Vander top side, start pressuring onto that tower as the TP comes in the river.
Ashe arrow, it's going to land on a Rekkles. He heals preemptively, and all of a sudden Djoko is here. The big arrow from Nukeduck, and now Cabochard is hopping on in after the TP. Will they be able to take down Jesiz? Yes. But Caps is going to fire back, find one onto Nukeduck. It's a 1-for-2 trade for Vitality.
Remember that Rekkles used his flash to get the kill onto Nukeduck earlier, so Vitality make the play happen. The fight's not over, though.
They're looking for Djoko, and he's going to get swallowed up by Vander as Cabochard is making himself known, but the rest of the team's not quite there. He's got a ward hop away, and Broxah's going to jump right on top of him, and in comes Caps to separate Vander and Djoko from Steelback as they try to get back to the safety of the tower, but they're locked up in a corner. Soaz throws down the standard, and Caps is going to take out Steelback. Vander gets popped back on. The double kill, the triple kill, and Caps is going crazy.
Exquisite play from Caps. Vitality overstay. They think that they can continue to win out from the fight, but then Caps gets the ultimate outplay. Look, Fnatic, they lose Rekkles right off the get-go. Great TP coming out from Vitality. 5-man collapse onto the 3-man unit. Flashless AD carry, turns into a double kill. And then Caps, this is where things start. This is his first kill of the fight. He shuts down Nukeduck, and then they think, oh, okay, this is a 4 versus 3. We can go for this. We think we can challenge it. But no, Caps' positioning was beautiful, always sitting on the outside. The stun from Cabo cannot land because Soaz gets the knockup. Another great wall separates Steelback from the two peelers, and then Caps lands every single one of his threaded volleys. Beautiful Taliyah play, and just very impressive teamfight win for Fnatic.
And even tanks up through all of that on the tower. Now Vitality will manage to find themselves an Infernal Drake, but this is a consolation prize because Fnatic got the Baron, got the top tower, got the Rift Herald, and they are steamrolling ahead.
Yeah, Fnatic, they have everything now to just siege onto all these structures. That gold advantage is snowballed into a 10k lead, and Fnatic are looking poised and ready to take the 2-0 in this set. Vitality, they fell into the classic trap with Jax. They tried to go for a fight in the middle lane. They felt super confident. They thought that they could just keep it going. And in the end, it all just fell apart. You need to keep this guy on a side lane. You need to be drawing attention away. Never go for those 5v fights. Just be happy with the pick and then just reset and start pressuring these towers across the map, which Vitality have still only been able to get one off.
Yeah, not a whole lot they were able to do last game either. And we're starting to see Fnatic rolling on ahead. It wasn't as big of a lead, but looking great for the Fnatic team. Joko says, that's mine. Try next time.
Yeah, nice steal there from Djoko. Dragon did just go down in favor of Vitality, so an Infernal apiece for both sides. And now you can see Fnatic, they have top wave pushing in their favor, I believe. They have caught out Djoko, but their plan is to just group up as a 5-man unit mid. The team fighting is very powerful. I want to see Soaz move down to the bottom lane. He has his TP up, and Fnatic need to gain better control over the top side of this map. They need to just clear out the wards and give Jarvan more opportunities to TP into the fight.
Yep, they're able to 4-1 themselves and not using Rekkles on that side lane. It's nice to see this new strategy from Fnatic. I say new strategy. It's pretty standard for a lot of teams, but not if your name's Fnatic. But they're executing it well.
He's going for the Static Shiv on that Varus, but really not been the main talking point. We wanted to see growth from Fnatic, and I feel like of the 3 teams so far, Fnatic have shown the most amount of growth in the shortest amount of time. Their playstyle, it doesn't feel to me like a Fnatic playstyle. To me, this just feels like good, clean League of Legends. They're not doing any fancy tricks, they're just relying on their own skill, and they're outperforming that of Vitality right now.
100% on the nose. The skill in these team fights has been fantastic. We highlighted what Caps was able to do, earning himself a whole hell of a lot. And remember, Nukeduck is the big carry for this team. Jax, of course, is going to be big on those side lanes, but in team fights, that's what he needs to do. And he has honestly paled in comparison to what Caps is bringing out. Now they're looking to make another play here as threaded volley and everything. Unravel that earth, and Tahm Kench is caught. Rekkles going to get that final shot to get the kill. Caps keeps going forward, shut down by Cabochard. He's going to make his great escape, and the barrel's going to separate up the Braum, so Vitality are finding themselves 2. But Steelback's have to flash over the wall right now just to stay alive. 2-4-1 on the board right now as Vander had already died. But Fnatic did get themselves a tower. It's 8-8. This is starting to get a little bloody.
But this time, Vitality are the ones to punish the over-aggression of Fnatic. They see so many ultimates used just to kill their support. They still had the Ashe arrow ready, and they were looking to shut down this Fnatic squad. So Nukeduck, he was actually the target, but Vander ends up getting locked down. You can see Ashe and Nukeduck just sitting on the back of the fight, focusing down Caps, who's just stuck underneath the tower, and then Cabo comes in to clean up. The arrow is there. Fnatic are now divided. And with a great barrel from Djoko, they're able to shut down a second member, rather, of the Fnatic squad while still keeping Nukeduck alive. As you rightly said, yes, they lose their tower, so still overall map advantage gain for Fnatic, but Vitality, they're still a team that you have to respect. If they see a mistake, they will punish you for it, and they have demonstrated time and time again that their individuals can still make those outplays.
Yeah, Nukeduck, at the start of that, he looked like he was dead to rights, and even burning the flash, nice to see him escape by inches at the very least. The Vitality continue to keep 4 members mid, but soon to be 5 as Steelback is coming back off the fountain. Unfortunately for Cabochard, he's kind of been called to duty in a lot of other lanes because Fnatic are keeping this pressure on, making it difficult for him to get out on those side lanes where he likes to live. Still a pretty heavy gold lead in favor of Fnatic, but we have seen Vitality punish a couple of times in this series, and if they can't get a serious fight, it could all change in a heartbeat.
So 8 kills. Here comes the package. They're going for playmat.
Special delivery right on top of Caps. They're keying off on him, and Nukeduck is going to get a revenge kill for himself. Now looking for Jesiz and Rekkles, who's flashing away. Vander's going to swallow up Nukeduck as he was nearly taken down. Soaz trying to tank the front line here. Vitality, a hit and run to take out Caps.
Love the play from Vitality. They just group up 5, run down mid. They take advantage of the fact that Caps has no flash ready and available. That is a squishy mid lane Taliyah going from 4-1 to 4-3 now. Vitality just being so proactive. Absolutely love to see this kind of play making the Tahm. Kench brings the package in. Focus immediately down onto Caps, and there's very little that he can do. And with the Djoko follow-up, he's just ready and waiting to just body block so much of the damage. And then Vander drags out the mid laner to make sure that every single member of Vitality gets out alive.
Oh yeah, fantastic play all across the board, but Nukeduck really living up to the moniker of Corki, daring bombardier indeed, as he goes in to make that play happen. And honestly, Vitality could have had more if Fnatic hadn't peeled back at the right time. 28 minutes now on the clock, still the lead in Fnatic's favor. But things are looking a little less certain than they were just a few moments ago.
So Baron going to be spawning in a minute. Mountain Drake in about 30 seconds time. Fnatic and Vitality both want to fight for it, but they have not been using Cabochard off on a side lane just yet. He's been grouping a lot with the team. They've been trying to fight a lot more fights, and there are ways in which you can make a team fight Jax valuable, but it is extremely difficult, especially against things like the Varus, like the Taliyah. You have to be the one being the engager, and so far, Vitality have done a good job of that, but let's see if Fnatic still give them the windows to do so. Who is going to be the one that really pulls the trigger and is the first to initiate the fight?
Mountain Drake being started up by Fnatic, 3 members down on the bottom side, while Vitality spread out just a little bit. We're focusing on Fnatic's top side of the map to finally get that tower. But Fnatic have a lot of vision invested in the Vitality jungle, especially around that bottom, so they were pretty safe in taking that Mountain Drake.
Yeah, but that trade results in Vitality getting all this vision around the Baron area. You can just see all these wards littered, ready to set up for that objective, because this is going to be the focus for them. They know that Jesiz has just dropped a bunch of wards. They're going to go back, refresh their vision, get the sweepers ready, and then come in for the clear and start threatening this objective. Get Fnatic to come and face check them. Get Fnatic to be the ones baited into the fray that allows Vitality to get the fight that they so desperately want to win.
They're going to get that gold influx. They already got the top tower. One more hit is all it takes to get 350 gold into the pocket of Cabochard. Titanic Hydra, of course, helping out on top of it, but we got some moves down bot as Cabochard. He is running right now. Hopping a ward over flag and drag. Soaz on the follow. Caps not far behind. Rock surfing away. The rest of Fnatic are inbound here. He gets a counter-strike on 2.
Oh, he's going.
He get the outplay. The timer is ticking, but he's going down. Soaz finding the kill.
Vitality, they're posturing around the Baron, but they don't feel confident to just rush it down. They were not fast enough on the play, so Cabochard goes down. Fnatic, they dissuade Vitality from the Baron, and now they're the ones with the numbers advantage. Let's see if they can force anything.
Classic Fnatic ganking the teleport. Good play right there. Classic move, I should say. And now Fnatic are 5 members strong. Caps not quite in the pit just yet. Vitality, they don't have eyes on it anymore. He throws out the barrel all the same. Djoko trying to make sure they can't quite start it as easy as that. But Fnatic, they know better. And to start this one in a blind 50-50, there's still a smite to contend with.
So you still have the Ashe E to check whether or not the Baron has been started.
Here it is.
And it will be. Fnatic, they're going to go. TP is available for Cabo. He's going to be alive soon.
Oh, but they're going to turn right for Nukeduck, and in goes Soaz. But they're leaving him for dead in the pit. Vander's going to get the finishing kill, and the arrow comes in to land onto Jesiz. Now Vitality have got a window to react. Teleport coming in for the Jax. He's going to get shoved. No, just a second away. He gets knocked up by Jesiz. All the same. Vitality bringing up the rear here on the front line. Cabochard's going to get swallowed up, but he will not go down.
So both top laners come in with no follow-up, but Soaz goes down, Cabo does not. He loses that TP, Soaz is now available. That means that Fnatic are in the better position to try and force this fight while having that split push threat on the other side of the map. But let's look back. Soaz goes in, the rest of Fnatic cannot reliably follow up because of a great barrel coming out from Djoko. Completely denies the engage, and things are looking absolutely fantastic for Vitality at this point. But great disengage. That's the word I'm looking for. Great disengage from the side of Fnatic, making sure that they stay out of range of the stun from the Jax, and they're able to get away with 4 members, and no Baron goes down to either side. All
right, so that TP advantage, that's going to come up clutch right now. In that last fight, of course, Caps was dishing quite a lot of it out, so was Rekkles. Vitality, though, they're the ones who have control over the Baron pit, but Broxah waiting in the wings. Jesiz, Rekkles, all looking to collapse, but Nukeduck's here. Who is baiting who? That's the question as the crab goes down. Special delivery for Nukeduck, dodging out the threaded volley of caps. In comes Cabochard, but he just gets a stun onto Jesiz as they knock him back into the team. But Soaz tags his way in, looking for Steelback, turning around. The arrows are firing. Nobody's gone down just yet. Vitality not too keen on it, but Cabochard, he certainly is. Nukeduck with a finishing kill. Can they do it? Cabochard, oh so low. They're rooted up on the chains. Everybody's bleeding out of Vitality's side. Rekkles flashing forward, takes down Steelback, and Fnatic looking like they win that fight by inches.
Extremely close fights for both sides. A single flash determining who will win out on the side. Rekkles getting so close to shutting down Djoko. They're just going to rush this Baron down.
They've got to be able to do it. Djoko, no chance for him to really get in there and smite it unless he goes in unseen.
Here we go, here we go.
Control ward. It's going low. Djoko, can he flash and dash in time? He's not even going to try it.
So Fnatic, they force Vitality back 1-for-1. They're going for the chase.
Yeah, Nukeduck, Vander, they thought they'd face check a little bit into this one, and now they've been split up. Vander's gone down to Broxah. Nukeduck stopped up on the fissure. Broxah looking for two, but it's Soaz who claims him. Vitality scattered.
And now Fnatic, they've just gotten themselves 2 additional kills. They have the Baron buff. Soaz has TP, and this should be an inhibitor going in favor of Fnatic.
Oh yeah, they've got a man advantage, or several as it were, and a TP coming in for Soaz means that Djoko and Cabochard can't really stop this from happening. Steelback coming off with the home guard. Soaz, though, is going to dissuade them from doing a damn thing as the inhibitor is going down. 33 minutes into this game, Fnatic want to close it out.
Are they really going to go for the end? Very risky. They go on to Djoko.
Yeah, he's able to dash out of the pit. It's all right. Soaz, the barrel's going to knock them away, but just with one inhibitor and a handful of minions, they're trying for it here. In comes Cass. Counter-strike is on Cabochard. He does not want to be in the middle of this, and he has to hop over, stunned away. Djoko limping back to the fountain right now, trying to stay alive, but Fnatic, they don't want to push their luck. They'll settle for one Nexus turret.
Yeah, because Nukeduck, he's just about to respawn. He has the flash and everything ready. So Fnatic, they're just going to take the inhib, take one of the towers, and then just backed off. But let's just backtrack to how this all kicked off. Broxah starts to be the initiator with Jesiz following up. But Cabo with a great flank going off on the side. His eyes were on Caps. And notice here, Caps uses his flash at this point, still feels confident to stick into the fight, while Rekkles isn't even involved yet. He's not doing any damage. Now that he's joined, Cabo, his cooldowns are back up, and he can go straight onto Caps. They get all the kills, they're feeling good. But then it is Nukeduck on the fray, getting zoned out, thanks to a great ultimate from Rekkles, who's then able to chase down Steelback, who just doesn't have the peel from Vander anymore. When the 4v4, Vitality take more damage, they're forced to go back, so they lose the Baron, and then they try to come back in with the Tahm Kench ultimate, and this is where things really fall apart for Vitality.
All right, so Vitality are looking to bait, laying in wait. Cabochard spotted on a ward, and now the action is going to start again. It's Jesiz who's tanking up the Ashe arrow. Fnatic, though, they're going the wrong way to the base. They're going to have to fight their way out, and they just might do it as Djoko has to flash his way out of the pit. So as everyone's on top of him, and now it's Caps who's coming up with kill number 1. Cabochard limping, but Broxah is not going to let him off that easily, and Steelback up against the wall. It's a double kill for the Fnatic jungler. Nukeduck and Vander trying to turn it around, but Soaz wants to go right back in. Here comes Rekkles for round 2, and they've separated him up on the wall. It's Rekkles with a killing spree now, and Nukeduck, the last member standing, not anymore. That's the ace.
Clean 5-0, going in favor of Fnatic. The fans are elated, and they're going to end the series.
Off the back of Rift Rivals, Fnatic knew something had to change, and it just goes to show you can teach old kings some new tricks. Elation on the side of Fnatic and a well-earned 2-0. And everybody in the stands happens to be happy about that one.
Vitality, they definitely brought it in the mid-game to that of Fnatic. They had a good scaling comp. The Ashe and the Corki were doing a lot of damage, but this Cabochard, he never really utilized the jack-off in the side lane. It's, again, the second time we've seen this. Splice kept bringing him into these team fights rather than utilizing his side lane threat. And I feel like that teams are just afraid to play this kind of 1-3-1 style. They're much more interested in just grouping up and fighting. And I just wonder why this Jax is always the pick of choice. Because it's so much better off in the side lane. You can see that, sure, Cabo was making a lot of great plays, but once the fight was drawn out, it just wasn't working out for them. That melee champion being thrown against all these ranged DPS characters just melted through him. He ended with a scoreline of 4-4-4. And you look across the side of Fnatic, my God, so many standout performers want to give a big shout out to Jesiz as well, because those walls so many times were so clutch, so fantastic, mitigated so much of the damage, and Fnatic were able to have a fantastic performance.
Oh, 100%. Give Jesiz a lot of credit because he was tanking up arrows as well as damage. So honestly, when they were able to group together, that team fight that Fnatic had was nigh unstoppable. And it almost seemed like Vitality felt compelled to try and take the 5v5 despite it not being optimal with Jax. So, you know, you talk about them falling into the trap, but what choice did they have in realistically?
Yeah, I mean, they always had that 1-4 availability, but I mean, the early game was going fine for them, right? They were 4-2 in kills. They had that slide advantage. They were scaling very well.
Got a couple of dragons.
There were plenty of options for Vitality, but unfortunately for them, things didn't work out.
Yeah, nothing doing. Fnatic take that 2-0, so that'll do it from us here at the caster desk. Let's send it over to Sjokz for the post-game lobby.
Well, welcome everybody to the post-game lobby. I'm joined by Stressamazing and Kha'zix from Mysterious Monkeys as, well, we're going to break down everything that happened the last week over in the EU LCS, so right here actually, after Rift Rivals. And we are also going to get a couple of words with the victors of the latest series, which is Fnatic. We'll be waiting for that, but first I want to speak about that series because a very convincing win in the end for the side of Fnatic when we thought it would be a much more competitive one. Amazing in the end, even in game 2. They just looked much crisper overall. Do you agree with that? And why do you think Vitality wasn't able to do anything?
I think Fnatic was more clear on what they have to do in the game and actually like understood their win is way better. And I think the way that they orchestrated, especially game 1, was really interesting. That they were able to counter all the mid ganks and were still like answering the pressure and getting pressure back on the map. Even though Vitality put up a fight and were actually coming in with game plans, which is something that I was really surprised by because Vitality in general seems to be a team that is really passive almost in comparison. And this series, they really showed a lot of promise as in the activity levels on the map, their actually playmaking potential and shot calling seem to have been improved. But Fnatic still had the upper hand because every time Vitality made a mistake, Fnatic capitalized on it and just crushed them.
Capitalized on it.
And this is exactly what we needed out of Fnatic. Considering how big everybody was talking about the Fnatic lineup coming into Rift Rivals, I think a good performance against one of the rising teams in the league helps them out significantly now. It basically tells their fans and themselves as players that they can react like this, and partly offsetting a lot of the presence in mid lane that we've seen quite a lot. Caps was camped heavily at Rift Rivals. This time, Broxah was there, helping him out. Caps held his own as well. So a lot of the things that went wrong actually went right today.
With that also, every team that went to Rift Rivals from EU won their series this week, but we're going to talk about that a bit more later. Kha'zix, player of the series is Caps, and we were looking at Nukeduck versus Caps because in our opinion, Nukeduck, and he still is, he's a great player and he's been doing phenomenally. So why do you think in this series, Caps had the upper hand?
I think because in game 1, he kind of avoided the ganks. Like, he got ganked multiple times and he only died once from all those ganks. And he did well in that. And in Taliyah game, he played just really well. He had a lot of damage and was exactly there when he had to be and uses ultimate pretty well. So
Yeah, it will be super important for him as well because Caps in particular was a player who he even sent out that tweet in the middle of Rift Rivals, C9 woken a monster or something like that, but he was never able. Well, I think it's still fine that he does that, right? But I feel like for him, he really wanted to prove something, and this might be a good ego boost again.
And I spoke to him a little bit before Rift Rivals, and he specifically talked about not feeling pressure going into Rift Rivals. So I think along with an ego boost maybe from actually winning this game, I think the experience of what actual international pressure is may very well just grow Caps on a domestic level as well now. If he knows what true pressure is, maybe now this is a good sign for playoff run.
We will see confidence boost for Fnatic overall and closing out the week with a win over Vitality. We're also going to get a word with their AD carry for more on that series.
Thank you very much, Sjokz. I am joined by Rekkles here. So let's talk a little bit about Rift Rivals. You just won a series over Vitality, but I think the thing that's most on people's mind, Kennen, pretty consistently in Rift Rivals. Now you're pulling out the new AD carries in this series. What kind of prompted this change for you?
Well, Kennen got nerfed in 7.13, and Rift Rivals was the first official games we had on 7.13, so I was kind of just maybe stuck in like the old patch. I'm not sure. Like we had really good scrim results, so I just thought maybe it's still fine. You know, like maybe the changes didn't affect it too much. But then at Rift Rivals, you could clearly see that it wasn't like working out. So in the past week, we've just been trying to like not necessarily change everything up, but try a lot of new stuff so that we're more versatile in the future when these kind of tournaments come around, because if we're playing so many games back to back and we're not able to adapt, we will definitely like get punished against good teams.
We did see adaptation coming out today, so I'm curious, looking back at Rift Rivals, was it just the drafts and kind of being stuck in that single play style that was the biggest issue at Rift Rivals, or were there other issues for Fnatic as well?
I think definitely the draft was like a big problem, but I wouldn't say the biggest. I think NA's early game was like so much better than we've pretty much ever seen before. Like in EU, at least, there's nothing that comes close to it. So especially with the style we were playing, or the style we are playing, like we just have a really tough time dealing with these kind of early games. Like we just fall too far behind, and I never really get going on my split push AD carry thingy. And that's why we made some of the changes going into this week, because we just felt like if someone were to pull out this early game again and I don't get going, we don't really have any cards to fall back on. Meanwhile, now we maybe have more like, as I said before, like a versatile playstyle, so we're able to maybe fall back on like Soaz or Caps if something goes wrong on bot. And I have better scaling as well on something like Varus and Sivir, so for sure, like, we learned a lot from Rift Rivals, but it kind of sucked that it happened in such a fashion and that we kind of like lost all of our hype maybe with it, but like we'll definitely keep working the way we did before, and we'll try to win Europe same as we did before. Yeah.
Definitely on the path to building some of that hype back up with some pretty solid wins over Vitality today. Now, looking forward for Fnatic, improving some of those individual things, improving that flexibility looks good for you guys, but what are the immediate goals outside of kind of learning to deal with that aggressive early game that you saw from those North American teams?
Well, as I said, I think the biggest thing we're working on right now is that we're not so reliant on me doing my thing that I did before. And we're much more like able to adapt in the game as well, because some games, like at Rift Rivals, they were just having so much jungle pressure on bot, and I wasn't able to like pressure the lane at all or do my cannon things in the lane. So yeah, we just had nothing to fall back on, and now we've been trying to like be more like broad as a team and able to play around pretty much every lane, every player, and like maybe in Spring Split it didn't work out, but now I think it will, because everyone has improved so much and we're so much better now as a team. So like for sure it's going to be much better now. And as you could see here, like there were some good signs, especially in game one.
Yeah, definitely saw some fantastic plays across the team. Early aggression from North America seems to be a consistent thing that kind of trumped Europe out across Rift Rivals. How do you practice and prepare for that when it's the European teams that weren't able to match that aggression? Where do you find that practice here in EU? Is that something that teams are now looking to improve, or is that something that you have to find a way to kind of emulate?
I think it's hard to practice, but most of it is theoretical anyways. Like we just have to talk about jungle paths and how much pressure each lane has and what they can do with it, because at Rift Rivals we kind of got caught off guard. Like if you saw the first C9 game, like their support was just roaming mid at level 2 or something, killing Caps behind his tower, and like that's something we've never seen before. Like usually if the enemy team gets pressure bot or something, they just try to snowball it into a CS lead or tower damage. But in this case, they just didn't care at all about the laning phase and just started going towards mid. And yeah, like there were a lot of new things to learn. And as I said, we were just not adapting over the days. Like we were playing 3 days back to back, and we weren't able to adapt at all between the days. So it's kind of a shame, and maybe even a good learning experience, because Worlds is going to be a similar like schedule. So if we're able to learn that we need to adapt, maybe even like in the middle of the tournament, then that will be a good step towards Worlds if we make it.
Showing some of that week-to-week adaptation here, maybe day-to-day adaptation in the future when the world stage is present. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me. That's going to do it for us here. We're going to send things back to Sjokz in the post-game lobby.
That's Rekkles next to him.
Well, Fnatic, G2, and Unicorns of Love, they represented EU in the Rift Rivals, but they failed to pick up the trophy in a tournament that was dominated by the LCS teams. And in the post-game interview that Rekkles gave after Fnatic's victory over Vitality, he spoke to the fact that the EU teams in general, and especially Fnatic, weren't able to adapt as the tournament went on. And I kind of want to take a look at the stats that we had at the end of the group stage of Rift Rivals that signify the differences between NA and EU, because they were damning. Obviously, the wins. The early game is something we see referenced over and over and over, how EU teams weren't able to get an early game lead, and more importantly, how North America was so efficient at snowballing their early game leads. And with that, of course, great objective control.
Great objective control, a lot through empowering junglers in the early game. And Maurice, this is something you're on the Analyst desk for Rift Rivals. Is there a difference you see now this week of people actually playing through their jungler early game? I mean, we've looked at Fnatic with a slightly different play style as well.
I think more teams are actually thinking about the ward coverage that they have to put out and just the pressure they have to put on the map at specific times. That it's like a lot of the schemes that are that any teams have been running, as in like, you know, they exactly know when to put what coverage, where to put it, and how to pressure, is something that you learn by practice, and you actually like keep repeating that and everything like that. So and EU teams probably copy that now and actually have been more adamant about getting the ward coverage at the right times. We saw even in the Vitality game that Vitality had two ping wards on both side lanes, on both sides of mid, and basically were able to roam off of mid or roam into mid at any point. So yeah, like we've definitely seen improvement, and I think EU is more into playing into schemes now too, and I appreciate that a lot because it gives you a stronger base to work off for later stages of the game.
And specifically about Fnatic, I mean, we're seeing a lot of this vision control around the mid lane, and Fnatic have been playing more around mid lane. This is a team that only ever went to the side lane on a Kennen or a Tristana during Rift Rivals. Now Fnatic picking Sivir, picking Varus, and just going, okay, Rekkles, you've done this in seasons gone by, sit mid, we'll try and start fights in mid and actually get objective control. So it's a drastic shift for Fnatic that worked out very well
So
today.
it's kind of a combination from adapting to the meta and playing different champions, even though Sivir is not particularly in meta, but apparently also not bad. But because of the pick, you have to sit mid because you just can't 1v1 someone in the side lane.
Sivir, anytime you need a scaling AD carry, is still going to be just as successful with a couple of buffs to the attack speed items. She's also decent, okay? I don't think any team is going to first pick Sivir or highly prioritize, but I like seeing people trying to play different AD carries like Fnatic. They're always a little oddball.
Yeah, definitely in terms of mid lane priority, we just saw that there was a lot of that during Rift Rivals, and we see more and more of it. Kha'zix, we saw G2 back there played versus Splice, and Perkz went absolutely off. He did get some help from the jungler, as always, but he just seemed to leverage his advantage more than he had. Do you feel like he looked different than he did at Rift Rivals?
I think they look stronger, yeah, for sure. Also, but I think also, yeah, he was like playing mechanically better than the enemies. And he got a lot of, yeah, their vision was better, so you could get a lot of free, especially the LeBlanc game. He got a lot of free kills off because they had a vision and he could just one-shot everyone. Yeah, so I think, yeah, better than Rift Rivals, how it went there.
Yeah, that wasn't difficult. Of course, we see the stats there, 12, 25, and 20 at Rift Rivals, and absolutely killing it on LeBlanc specifically versus Splice.
That's something I've been advocating now for a few weeks with this G2 slump. They remembered LeBlanc exists as a champion. They'll play more Syndra. They'll play more of these early game champions, and that's where Perkz looked the best. Sure, he can play Orianna, he can play the Corki, but empower him early on, he will carry through a game, and then if you need Sven in the late game, we'll always know he's reliable.
It is kind of hard to say from those games, though, when your mid laner snowballs so hard and can carry on his own. It's kind of hard to say where the macro improved, but amazing, we were talking during the show a lot about G2 and the fact that you feel that in terms of 1-4, they've always been good. They've just never had European teams that are as good as they are, but NA teams are better.
Yeah, basically what happened in Rift Rivals is that EU teams got the reminder that 1-4 is actually a playstyle that exists, and G2 was always advocating that playstyle, and due to them having no enemies in Europe actually playing that style, they had no chance of practicing. So if you run 1-4 against 1-3-1, the thing that's going to happen every time is that at some point you're going to outscale and then you win team fights. But against 1-4 versus 1-4, you have to be way more crisp on the ward timings, you have to be way more crisp on the rotation times, and you will probably lose a lot of team fights in scrims because you underestimate the opponents or you overestimate your own damage. So other teams actually picking up the style right now in Europe gives them the opportunity to basically better themselves and actually have opponents to practice against and then bring that towards Worlds.
And not only that, we've seen if it's difficult to do, to set up the warding that you're talking about, Tahm Kench is 1-4, basically painting by numbers. Every time this champion has ultimate, he goes on whoever's the one, and you just start the fight. If it's a 1-3-1, you can just start the fight mid lane and just kill everybody. Seen it this week, expecting more teams to pick it up.
Well, you talk about that, about the 1-4, or just all playing on the mid lane. The Unicorns of Love is a team that we haven't touched on yet, and I didn't feel like there was that much of a difference in the way they played this week. But amazing, you were also mentioning that you felt like they played more controlled. I have a hard time seeing it just because it still came down to a lot of hard team fights in their matches. So what makes you say that? What
made me say that is that I think they kind of like shut down a lot of opponents within the early game, as in like they actually were crisper that during that time. They had more ward coverage on mid lane. They allowed Exile to actually not die 15 times. So like just the early game was crisper, but then when like the game becomes more random and you actually have to do way more individual decisions, like or in the moment shot calling, is when Unicorn still struggled. And I don't think that is necessarily going to change too fast, but I do think that them having like Sjokz actually playing early game champions in comparison to his late game scaling champions that he usually prefers is a good sign for them, because Xerxes is extremely good. Like, I'm actually surprised by the things that he does in scrims, and his jungle pathing is extremely crisp. But due to the fact that he has a love, or whatever it is, for those late game scaling champions, he doesn't really get anything out of it. So that means his early game strength is wasted. So I like that they put him on Analyst this week, and I hope to see more.
Well, it was nice to see that. Obviously, Exile was a player that we were looking at, Kha'zix, because he's had a couple of struggles this split. He has died a lot. So do you think it is just better from the Unicorns of Love that they put Xerxes now on an Analyst that can actually pressure some of the ganks or counter gank him? Will that enable him to do more in the game?
I think so. I think he will, of course, die less than he did in Rift Rivals, yeah, that's for sure. And he will be able to play more aggressive if he play aggressive champions. And he will be able to rotate more or something, because if Gragas, for example, if they play like scaling late game champs who don't have any aerial pressure, he can't really do much. He cannot rotate with his jungler or fight with his jungler if the enemies are stronger. So yeah, maybe we'll see improvement in that.
We've already started to see a little improvement. He actually is now down to, on average, 2/3 of a death per game in his series this week, down from 2 in the Rift Rivals group stage. One thing for me that is a problem still for the Unicorns, they live and die by individual errors, and that has to be cleaned up. This week it wasn't Exile, it was Chachi.
It was Chachi.
That's surprising, but they cannot have one person dropping the ball every week, otherwise it's never going to come together.
Well, we'll see how it evolves. Maybe short stress. All the teams that went to Rift Rivals and that we were disappointed with, they beat good teams, good teams that were just below them or around them in the standings, because G2 was obviously third coming into the week, but they were able to beat out Splice that had looked good beforehand. Misfits weren't able to win versus Unicorns of Love. Fnatic pretty much crushed Vitality, so what does that tell us?
I think it tells us there were learnings that come from Rift Rivals. I still maintain that if they'd played the same style coming in, they probably still would have won, just at how strong the teams are. But I think just the fact that they have learned is a good sign for the likes of G2 and Fnatic specifically.
All right, well, we'll see how everything evolves and what our Rift Rivals teams can do as they continue their fight for a spot in the playoffs, with a lot left to play out here in the summer split. And for us, well, I keep thinking about Rift Rivals. Are we too fixated now on everything that happened at Rift Rivals with those teams, and should we focus more on the own game of the teams, or is it to find a balance amazing? If you were in one of those teams, how would you react to what happened?
I mean, first off, I would have been embarrassed because I hate losing. But second off, it's just, like, at that point, you just have to acknowledge that your playstyle is not as good as it should be, and it's not working on an international stage. So if your team like Fnatic, G2, and like Unicorn, like I think actually more G2 and Fnatic, where they have been to Worlds a lot of the times and they have had this international success, that they look more towards it now. And I think them fixating on it is good, but I think we as viewers should still like kind of appreciate what the EU teams actually do and what kind of things they run for themselves and what kind of ideas they have, because EU is really risky in their playstyle and the things that they innovate. So I respect a lot of the teams a lot. I respect their innovation, especially Unicorns. So just like giving them a fair shot and just acknowledging what they can actually do on the Rift is something we should do more and not fixate too much.
I'm kind of interested now with specifically Mysterious Monkeys, you know, Kha'zix. You're a player that plays things are a little different. You see the Katarina come through, the Cassiopeia. Speaking of Rift Rivals and what we learned about the early game, is that something you look at and you say, okay, I need to address this too? I may not have been there, but it's my region style. Or do you kind of just keep playing your own game?
Honestly, I haven't. We were scrimming a lot, so I haven't honestly watched a lot of Rift Rivals games. But I think like the champions that they play there and how they play is just also like they're way better in communication, you know, than probably like the new teams. So they have like, yeah, they're just better in communication, so they know how to set up things better and stuff like that. Yeah, and of course we kind of have to learn from that, I guess.
Yeah, it's interesting though when you talk about the Mysterious Monkeys, because I was asking myself this question when you see Kha'zix coming in, obviously with cool champions, interesting champions, but it doesn't seem to me that a team that is building up, that it is learning. When you throw in a Kali in the mix, it's very specific skill set, obviously very coordinated in team fights and in the split pushing. Is that making it a bit more difficult for yourselves, or how do you see kind of that in the context of the team?
I think Akali was actually fine, but it's just like the way how we executed again, like it's because we were kind of winning the game, but then how we executed team fights and our planning and stuff and how we set up stuff is just way worse than like experienced teams. So I think it could have worked out, but yeah, I don't think it's always have to be by the meta, you know. I think you can also go off and make things work, like unicorns, for example. So yeah.
Sure, amazing.
I mean, I think the game itself, like, I think the Akali pick, and especially like playing against, as he already said, against better teams or more experienced teams or more established teams, like as an underdog, you kind of have to throw in a couple of curveballs. So actually, like going by the meta makes the enemies already be prepared for you. So like throwing in the Akali, throwing in like whatever Aatrox we had at some point, and the Mordekaiser, these kind of things. Yeah, like while they may not seem that great in the moment, like making the enemies rethink the game and actually having to like rethink the priorities within the early game is really good for underdogs. And I think I wouldn't be surprised if we have more of that coming in, maybe from other roads, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm a fan, and it seems to be working out for you guys because you're picking up more and more wins.
And it makes it difficult, as you said, for them to ban out against you.
Yeah.
I mean, Kickers, all he had to do was play like 2 or 3 games of Yasuo and solo queue in preparation for Faxi's Nara, and then they ban it out. I kind of want to talk Kha'zix, and I don't want to open any kind of wound or anything, but after you guys qualified,
Yeah.
a lot of the on-air story was that you personally have been trying to qualify for so long, and now you're here.
You're old.
I just want to ask you how you feel right now on the growth of improvement as you as a player, as an LCS mid laner now. Like, are you where you want to be? Is there any growth that you are kind of waiting still to see?
I would say not exactly, because the thing is, when we qualified for the LCS and we weren't with this lineup, we had another lineup, you know, so it was like how we were playing stuff was kind of straightforward and wasn't with people knew from other people what they had to do, you know. It was like kind of synergized, like people knew what other people were gonna do, so we didn't have to communicate as much and when we were like diving and stuff like now. But if you play with like new members and stuff and they don't expect the same thing from what you expect from them, you kind of have to communicate stuff, and then stuff were going like really wrong, you know. So that's kind of have to build up, but I think it's going better since the last few weeks, especially also with champion pools and that kind of stuff. And it's gonna get, it's getting better every week right now after the changes.
After the changes, well, it looks to be going on the up and up. Before we move on to the standings, I do want to put a spotlight on one other team, and that is H2K. They went up against Roccat, and they absolutely demolished them. There's no other way to put it, and that was kind of hopeful for me to see because H2K was obviously one of those top teams that was at the top of Group B before Rift Rivals didn't go to Rift Rivals, and we were looking at to make a statement. So is H2K the best team in Europe right now?
Oh, not this again. Oh, no sweeping statements 1 week back. Well, 23-minute average game time in this series tells you that they are significantly better than Roccat, as you were talking about. And I think we really have to wait to see H2K going up against the likes of Fnatic, G2, and back into group play against the Unicorns, because that realistically is going to tell us where they're at.
Yeah, I mean, just
You just agree? Okay, cool. We're just going to jump in. Let's take a look at the standings. H2K obviously at the top there still, but Unicorns of Love also picked up a couple of wins. And then it's getting interesting because Vitality now dropped that match. Mysterious Monkeys are hot on their heels. What do we realistically think is possible for the Monkeys?
I mean, realistically
we need to win some more.
Yeah.
We need to win more, but I think that the 4th place is within reach. I'm not even sure if Vitality is going to be ending up on the 4th place. I think they may actually, they're actually good enough to be on the 3rd right now. Like, I actually think they're really good.
That's what I keep hearing. I mean, that's what we heard even before Rift Rivals from a lot of people.
Their 1-4 is just incredible because, Amado has always been good at establishing, this base for them and for other teams too. And, the rotations that they do are really crisp and they just fought against way better teams. You know, Fnatic is no shame to lose to. But yeah, for us, 4th place, ideally 3rd place. I don't think we can go higher than that.
Well, this is only your first split in this configuration, so we'll be tracking that. And we speak about Vitality a lot. And, well, one player is very influential in that lineup. And over the first 6 weeks, we've been naming our player of the series for each matchup. And let's check out some of the individuals that have impressed us so far this split. No big surprises there. Nukeduck, well, for the first place at least, for as much as I heard people speak about Nukeduck. Power of Evil, Samux, and 7 players. I didn't know that nickname. But, well, at least I got some laps. So what do we think? Their Power of Evil, for me, has been an absolute standout player in Misfits, even with their struggles. So I think that is correct there. And Samux is the most consistent player of the Unicorns of Love. So is there anyone you're missing in the top 3?
I didn't play enough games.
Well, you had one today, so that is one.
I think, so I don't want to take away from you. I voted for Kha'zix today on Player of the Series because I think, and the reason why is he is such a drastic impact in every single game you guys play. The enemy have to respect it. So I think with more wins for Mysterious Monkeys, we'll see a Kha'zix creep up that leaderboard. But I'm just happy to see that you guys are actually successful with the play style that you're going, because it's exciting to watch.
Vedius voted for Amazing. You voted for Kha'zix. I voted for Dreams. Someone else voted for Yuki. So
everybody voted for
No one voted for me.
unfortunately, no one voted for. No, I was just kidding. I was just kidding. Well, with that, we have good players, but we've also seen a lot of good plays and good candidates for LCS Big Plays of the Week. And it's time to check out the very best. Here are your favorites, brought to you by Acer. First up, the Norwegian Bombardier Nukeduck got a pentakill as Corki in Vitality Series against Rocket. And G2's mid laner Perks now has a new challenger for his lane kingdom.
Vitality looking to push. This is the composition difference with running this Galio. It can be good, it can work out, but now Spraddle said Vitality, they want to keep going.
Yeah, looking for Sjokz right now. He goes in Viz, and even Prophet's taking it up, and Nukeduck flashing forward for the double kill. Forget the base, we're going for the ace, but Prophet hops in. He gets one kill off. That's a triple for Nukeduck. Looking for the quadra. Can he go for it all? Looking for that penta on Nagne, and he does it. A pentakill for Nukeduck.
On top, on top, on top. Penta. Take it, steal it. Steal it.
Nothing brings a team together like a pentakill. Obviously, Corki, so strong right now, so Nukeduck is great, but Kha'zix, you also were saying during the previous game, like, Corki is just intense now, and so...
I think he doesn't have many bad matchups, just that Casio can kind of pressure him, and Orianna a bit too, like, it's hard to lane, but for the rest, I don't think he has really bad matchup, and he skills really, really well, and does a lot of damage.
Yeah.
And it's not the hardest champs to play, I think.
No, not in, I mean,
okay, I'm just saying that he has a lot of damage and a really short. He's a lot of DPS, damage per minute, a lot.
Yeah, and getting a pentakill is still difficult, no matter what champion you're on.
Yeah,
especially when your team like steal it.
Yeah, they're all turning into pigeons at that point.
So we'll see. Nukeduck challenging Perks for that lane kingdom, but Perks, however, he also showed his skills when he made a great outplay as LeBlanc versus Splice at Fnatic tweeted, "Damn, Perks, they have families."
Copy's on the back end and Perks fancies himself a shot. He takes the magical journey as well. Copy's low, Sjokz is low. A threaded volley runs out of ammunition as Sjokz gets chunked down. The seismic shove is not going to find anybody on the pebbles.
Oh, that's a lot of juicy targets for Perks to clean up.
Oh, distortion forward. Shatter Orb not going to be able to be procced. Where's the chain? Trashy's under the tower. One shot. The illusionist. Double kill. There's the Perks that we all know and love.
What the fuck?
What?
What's up? I think we have to...
That's my bad.
Hey, it's post-game lobby, no censorship. He just said, I'm not going to repeat it. But yeah, that was pretty good from Perks. Why are you still
Maurice
laughing?
is dying over here.
Yeah, I mean, his expression says everything. He walks back in, gives Perks another kill, and he's like, what is he doing, you know?
Yeah, LeBlanc was pretty fed, and she was much more fed after that. So next play, Friday was Bastille Day in France, and Vizicachi, he picked up the Grand Duelist Fiora for the occasion. Turns out Misfits Gaming's Ignar was not a worthy opponent.
Nice escape from Vizicachi in the end. Meanwhile, bot lane, Unicorns, they're still pushing. They have no reason to back away at the moment. Wait, Ignar, what is he doing?
Dun. Yeah, that's an ignite. Oh, the healing coming in, Vizicachi.
Oh!
Holy shit, man.
Yeah, that's an ignite. Oh, the healing coming in, Vizicachi. Oh my god, outplayed. Whoa.
Don't try that at home.
Oh, I could look at the caster's reactions to stuff like that all day. That was hilarious. I tried to do the opponent with a French accent. It didn't work. It was a British accent. Can you?
Where's the opponent?
Yeah,
no, that was better, but still terrible.
That was so much better than mine. We'll have to do better.
Do you speak French?
Well, that's maybe why I can't fake the accent. I don't know. Je ne sais pas. In any case, merci beaucoup. Thank you very much for joining us. You guys, actually, it's not time to sign off yet. First, we're going to look at the schedule, because we'll be back for more action in the Summer Split next week. And we're going to kick things off with a top-tier fight between H2K and G2. And this is the end of the cross-group play, the last one. So G2 versus H2K. Misfits versus the Monkeys might be a very interesting one as well.
Fnatic.
Yes,
always crazy series.
So at the end of cross-group play is going to prove to be very, very interesting. What do you think of your opponents for that week? Misfits? Beatable?
I think they're pretty beatable. Like, they have a lot of issues, and I don't know what the thought process is, but like, they have players that can only play early game, and then they keep picking like keep getting outscaled like really hard. You know, the comps that they play are almost too hard to execute, and they are not straightforward. They don't just snowball into oblivion, you know? So I reckon that they may change up something, but I think they're still pretty beatable for us.
All right, we will see. Does G2 beat H2K?
Ooh.
Yes.
Yes?
Wow, okay.
I want to see that.
You want to see that? I say no. G2 are better, but I say no.
Okay, well, we're out of time, so I'll ask you about that next week.
Thank
you guys. This time I was a bit quick on the trigger before, but for joining us tonight, Kha'zix, Amazing, and Stress. It is time for us to call it a night from Berlin. Thank you guys very much for watching, and join us back here next Thursday for week 7 already of the Summer Split. Have a great night. Cheers.
This top lane Amazing's coming
Foxy,
through now.
chain CC goes in, knocked back. Foxy now in trouble, already burned the flash. Goodbye. That is going to be first blood for Mysterious Monkeys. Dreams goes in again for some reason. Foxy knocks the team back. What an ultimate. Rockcat now poised to take the fight. No hope left.
Chin no flash, chin no flash, chin no flash, chin no flash. Kill nada, kill nada. End the game, end the game.
That is going to be the game 1 win for the Mysterious Monkeys.
Nice. Nice. I stack a list. Nice.
Yeah, nice. It is simply not enough. Betsy, is he going to turn back? No chance to use the hill. Rockcat, the gold lead means nothing when Mysterious Monkeys just outplay you.
Ow! Ow! We have GA with Nar. Nice.
It's a grenade. Oh my God, Yarnin! Whoa! Rockcat managed to pull it back. It's messy once again, but they are going to get the win, and that is all that matters. Stun goes in. Now they're taking tower aggro. Going to try to dash out. Is going to make it to safety. Said that.
Oh, amazing!
What?
Oh, my bad.
Mysterious Monkeys are hungry for blood, and they're moving for a little bit more. Wadi gets taken down. The Lantern to save the day, but Amazing still going to drop. Kha'zix, they're going to take down the inhibitor. They win the fight as well.
Good shit.
No more back and forth, they say. No more mid-game fights. We're going to close it out. Mysterious Monkeys.
Oh no, they step right back into it, and Soaz says, get in the pit, everybody. Glacial Prison opened up. So is the curtain call, but it's a little too late as Rekkles picks up one, and Caps blows up Nukeduck. And now they're going to turn the fight on with the Baron picked up. They melt through Cabochard. Nukeduck trying to make a play, but he's not going to be able to get anything done.
Nice. I'm going top.
Trick, but he's not taking as good as he's getting there. Soaz moving forward as they try to get Steelback, but he's flashed away. Rekkles manages to finish off Vander, and Vitality are scattered to the winds. 16 kills to 1. Game 1 in the books. Fnatic are back.
Nice. Good job.
Oh,
arrow.
Holy shit.
Get dragon. Nice. Get them all.
Holy fake. Caps is going to take out Steelback. Vander gets popped back on. The double kill, the triple kill. And now it's Caps who's coming up with kill number 1. Cabochard limping, but Broxah is not going to let him off that easily. And Steelback up against the wall. You can teach old kings some new tricks.